Hello, friends, and welcome to Weekly Witness, Texas Impact's weekly podcast designed to help mainstream Texans of faith understand the legislative process and help you engage with public policy in the great state of Texas. My name is Scott Atnip, your host and Texas Impact's Director of Public Witness, and we are in the heat of summer, in between the primary elections and the consequential general election. There is important civic engagement work going on. Now is the perfect time to use the Texas Faith Votes resources to figure out what you and your congregation plan on doing this fall. Interim hearings are taking place, and we know that many of you are following those. And Texas Impact is planning for our fall and looking ahead to the legislative session. The Texas Impact staff recently met in Austin and welcomed several new staff and new people to new positions. So we thought we'd use part of the summer break to introduce you to our new team members. And we're starting that series today with a conversation with Kaitlin Dunn, our new Houston Faith Community Mobilizer, working with the Houston Faith Votes team. I know you'll be excited to hear from her today and get to know Kaitlin in the months to come. Find out more about Texas Faith Votes and how you can get involved in that campaign and all of the other Texas Impact teams on our website at texasimpact.org. All right, y'all, that's about enough wind up for today. I hope you enjoyed this week's conversation with Kaitlin Dunn. Joining us for today's conversation is Texas Impact's Houston Faith Community Mobilizer, Kaitlin Dunn. Kaitlin, so glad to have you with us today.
It's really great to be here. Thank you.
Love it, love it, love it. And it has been so exciting to have you join the team over the course of the last few weeks. You are brand new to Texas Impact. So for our listeners who haven't had a chance to meet you yet, talk to us about who you are and what brings you to this work.
So on top of being new to Texas Impact, I'm also a pretty recent college graduate. I finished school in December of last year. So that's been insane, just immediately going from college to all of this, which is really exciting and stuff. But
Right.
I majored in political science and anthropology, and I minored in religion in school. So this all kind of goes directly with what I did my schoolwork in and stuff. So that's been very
Political science and religion seems like a pretty good fit. Yeah.
yeah. And the funny thing is, I did a lot of my research projects for my political data analysis class in measuring how different religious faith groups and their voting outcomes, and how different ethnic minority groups within those religious groups kind of move differently. So this has been very interesting to sort of it feels very prevalent, kind of what I did my entire college trajectory on. So being in Texas has also been kind of very interesting, because it's my family's from here. So it's very different being here and working here and living here than it is coming for 2-3 weeks at a time.
I know I've heard you talk about that religious studies in college and how that shaped kind of how you view the world. Talk to us some about that.
I grew up not only in my grandfather's a pastor, my family owns a church in Louisiana. I grew up in not only a very culturally Christian context, but just in a very Christian context, period. And I had always been very interested in other religions. That was kind of my hobby growing up, kind of researching all of that kind of stuff. But I don't think I realized growing up, because I was very involved in politics when I was younger as well, just how much not only but religion, but also race kind of affects political outcomes. I knew about linked fate and that kind of stuff. And I knew that, the whole moral majority kind of thing that kind of has driven American politics today. But the ways in which it impacts sort of everything is very was kind of eye-opening to me, because once you find the thread of how much religion impacts American politics, it's you kind of can't unsee it. And I feel especially today, it's very prevalent to how everything's going. You can find just different ways in which religion sort of impacts everything. So it's I knew that it did impact stuff, but I wasn't really aware of the extent to which.
Yeah, so you are part of the Houston Faith Votes team that's working on engaging congregations around civic engagement and voting. Given your experience, given your studies, why do you think it's so important that congregations engage in the civic engagement work?
Well, not only is you can't really find any sort of in the traditional Abrahamic faith, you can't find any faith book that doesn't like make some reference to sort of civically engaging and like being active within your own communities. But also I think that because America has such a like a vast religious population, like not just Christianity, but Judaism, but Islam, I think that engaging the faith community, especially in Houston, which also just innately has a very large religious population, I think by not engaging it, it's missing out on really sort of mobilizing people in a way that I don't think like we do in a way. Um, Someone mentioned to me like when I started, like how like if more people in Houston voted, like the political landscape of Texas as a whole would look very, very different. And I think that coming to people in like places where they feel safe as opposed to like just like knocking on their door and be like, hi, I'm with so and so organization, would you like to like, are you registered to vote, would you like to hear about this candidate, whatever. I think that it like by talking to, especially with like the inward facing kind of project stuff, talking to people and talking to people you're already comfortable with makes the concept and like conversation surrounding civic engagement so much easier because you automatically have that basis of trust. And I feel like trust in like people regarding politics is something that's very abysmal today. So like trying to meet people in like any sort of like trustworthy environment, I think is kind of like a lot of the driving force behind the Houston Faith Project because we're like there's a large amount of people who go to church and like there's a large amount of people who go to church who don't necessarily vote. So I think that utilizing those places where people do feel, comfortable and safe is a great way to sort of meet people where they are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that trust and especially those trusted messengers are really important to this work because I think there are a lot of people especially right now, who are burnt out on politics and elections and all of the things. But all of our faith communities, all of our faith traditions talk about the importance of engaging in community and caring for the least of these and, taking care of folks. And I think it is really important that faith communities talk to our members about why it's important to engage civically, why it's important to vote, because it furthers the values that we have of caring for community and caring for people. I know you're relatively new, but what does that look like if congregations do that well?
So I think that it's kind of like a twofold kind of thing because already congregations kind of do like, a lot of them do have homelessness, like kind of like feed the homeless kind of initiatives, that kind of stuff, where they're already kind of intrinsically caring for the community. But I think taking it a step further and trying to directly like go out and like vote and try and like shape the political landscape of Texas, not only just Houston, but also kind of Texas as a whole, um, in order to have like more of these programs that do give back to communities. Um, like I said, like Houston has like a very large religious population. And if we are able to sort of like the pilot program, I think is like 15 to 17 congregations. I think that what we're hoping with this is that if it does prove to be effective in mobilizing faith communities, that we're able to like do it, like expand it and do it on a broader scale, which would then like I think there's a North Texas Faith Focus program, trying to figuring out where to expand it in the state to really like have the most impact.
Love that. One of the things I love about the Texas Impact staff is, the folks who work here love it and are doing it for a reason. You could have had a lot of different paths that your degrees took you to. Why have you chosen to do this work?
So I originally was going to go straight into a master's program after college. I had a lovely advisor who told me I think that would be the stupidest thing you could ever do because I didn't really know what I wanted to do my master's in. I knew I wanted my master's in something related to kind of like public global policy, and I knew I wanted to keep doing something with religion. So originally I was going to get a master's in Middle Eastern studies. That's super niche. Um, and she was like, I think you need to like take a year and kind of figure everything out. Um, and then this opportunity kind of just like fell into my lap because I was like I was planning on being a paralegal for a little bit. I was supposed to go to law school too. Decided I hate law and I don't want to practice it. I really like the study of it. I think I'd be an awful lawyer. But yeah, I was applying for a bunch of paralegal positions. And this one just like popped up on Indeed for a while. And like I had it saved, but I hadn't applied because I like to like research companies before I actually apply for jobs because I've like, the whole vector Cutco knives kind of situation. That was a mess in high school. Um, but yeah, and then when I was like, B like called me before I had accepted the position, and it's just like my logic was this aligns so perfectly with what you did for like in college. Like you just spent 3.5 years like doing essentially this. Like you have to at least see how that goes and where that'll take you. So it was kind of accidental entirely. Like there were so many different ways I feel like my like post grad kind of journey could have gone because I was already supposed to move to DC. I really had no plans on moving to Texas, but now I'm here and I really like it. So
Good. I'm glad to hear that, and we love having you. Anything in particular that you are excited about with this project and the new position?
I'm really excited to see kind of how this all works out because I've done a lot of like community organizing work. I've done a lot of like, political grassroots organizing kind of stuff, but never directly with faith communities. It's always been like never a collaborative effort with faith communities. It's always been kind of like one off, like, hey, this church that has a history in social justice really wants to do X, Y, and Z with us. Like it's never been you are all people of faith. Let's come together and see what we can do for our communities in like the civic engagement sphere. So I'm really excited to see how that works out and like the outcomes of that because I think that it has like the potential to be like a really like powerful tool in like today's political environment.
I assume a lot of the principles between the grasswork organizing work that you did and work within congregations would be pretty similar, right?
Yeah, I kind of became very, very jaded with like the federal government when I was in high school. Um, and like my logic was I can at least effectively impact my own community if I can't really do anything in like the larger federal scheme because like that whole what is it like the bottom up approach like you can't I feel like American politics kind of like exemplifies that. Like you should start like with the areas closest to you and then like kind of work your way up. So this has been like very much so like a breath of fresh air in like today's kind of like it's still stressful. Don't get me wrong, doing politics in Texas is still stressful.
Amen. You figured that out very quickly. All right, got that one down.
But I feel like there's actually like a chance for like me to see like positive change in a way that I don't necessarily think you know, me like I have a lot of friends from school who went to like be like congressional staffers and like stuff like that and like like White House interns one of them became and I think that would make me a lot less fulfilled because I feel like you don't get necessarily that direct like example of how your work is being effective. But I feel like with this project, it's kind of like in the same way in grassroots organizing, you at least know that you have done something for your community. And I feel like that's kind of why I do everything. So
I think Josh used to have a line where he said, "You can't influence a presidential or Senate race if you haven't done the work to influence your local school board race or city council race." And so that local focus, that community focus, I think is really important because our listeners can make a difference on a small scale in their local community, and all of that feeds up. So I'm excited to see how the Houston Faith Votes community comes together, the work that you all are going to do over the course of the next few months. Anything else you want to leave us with today, or any closing thoughts?
Support your local community, be a member. Don't just like be like, the silent neighbor. You should go and meet your neighbors because community is everything.
Community is everything. And folks, I hope you will have a chance to get to know Kaitlin over the course of the next few months or years. Make sure to sign up for Houston Faith Votes, for Texas Faith Votes. Go to our website and find out how you can get involved. Kaitlin, thanks for the time, and we're excited to have you join the team.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this week's conversation with Kaitlin, and I hope you'll have a chance to meet her in the weeks and months to come. I also hope you'll consider checking out the Texas Faith Votes resources online at texasimpact.org. Now is the perfect time to start planning your civic engagement work for this fall. As always, Texas Impact has all the resources for you to learn more and get involved. For those resources and so much more, check out the website and all the tools to get involved and start your work to make an impact today. While you're there, I hope you'll take a moment to sign up to be a member of Texas Impact. Your membership supports this podcast and all of the work to engage Texans of faith to advocate for a more just and equitable Texas. If you have questions about any of it, please reach out. You can reach me at scott@texasimpact.org. And with that, I think it's time to close out this episode. So remember, the world needs Texans of faith active and engaged. So let's get to work.
Weekly Witness is hosted by Scott Atnet, engineered and produced by David Fasalo. Our executive producer is B. Moorhead. The opinions expressed on Weekly Witness are those of Texas Impact and our guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views of our sponsors. Weekly Witness is a product of Texas Impact, people of faith working for justice. Visit us online at texasimpact.org.